Hello class, and welcome to the Fantastic Fives group presentation of the expectancy theory of motivation. The basic premise of the expectancy theory is that motivation depends on how much we want something and how likely we think are going to get it. So for example, you're going to be motivated to do something because you know that you're going to achieve it. You expect to achieve it. So if you think that the likeliness of you achieving that goal is more on the side that you will achieve it rather than the side of not achieving it, you're gonna do it because you expect to get it and you are motivated because you think it will be achievable. The expectancy theory of motivation was created by Victor H. Broom in 1964. And according to his theory, the behavior that we choose will always be the one that maximizes our pleasure and minimizes our pain. There are 3 key variables involved in the expectancy theory. The first important variable is expectancy, and that is equal to effort then leads to performance. The next key variable is instrumentality, and that is equal to performance leads to outcome. And the last key variable is valence, and that is equal to outcome leads to the reward. And all 3 of those factors must be present to motivate employees effectively. What is self-efficacy and how is it related to expectancy? Self-efficacy is the belief that you are capable of achieving a specific goal or performing a specific task that was assigned for you. Self-efficacy is task-related, it's not generally related. It's not about being good at your job in general sense or believing that you are a good manager. But basically, what it is saying is that self-efficacy is believing in yourself and knowing that anything that was assigned to you was meant for you and you will be able to perform it. In this next clip, we see Cal Weaver, also known as Steve Carell, in the movie Crazy Stupid Love, at a bar with his friend trying to pick up girls, but he lacks self-efficacy. He does not believe that he is capable of picking up girls because of his lack of experience in this specific task.
I think you're ready, pal.
For what?
To talk to a pretty lady and take her home and show her your gift.
No, I'm not.
You're as ready as you're ever gonna be. You play your strengths, pal. That's all any of us can do. I'm mysterious. I'm, good in bed. And you are a, stable and employed adult. You see this lady over here at 9 o'clock?
You want me to hit on her?
No, I want to hit on her. The one behind her.
Oh.
She's a total fox, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think she came to a crowded bar to have a quiet drink alone? She's hunting. She's just looking for an opportunity to settle for a responsible and stable adult. And I'd like her to settle for you.
Oh, well, thank you for the ego boost, but you know what? Just because I've watched you pick up women doesn't mean that I know how to pick up women.
You ever see Karate Kid?
What does that have to do with anything?
You know when he's teaching them to wax on and off, but he's really teaching them to fight?
You want me to fight someone?
What's the first thing I do when I go up to a girl? I buy her a drink.
Yes, always. Without fail, you buy her a drink even if she doesn't want one, you insist.
And do I talk about
You may ask, how can we build one's self-efficacy? There are 4 variables that will help us explain this. The first variable is experience. Experience is the biggest way to build up self-efficacy. The more experience you have in completing certain tasks, the more likely you are to become confident that you complete similar tasks. The second key variable of self-efficacy is vicarious experience. Vicarious experience develops self-efficacy by watching other people successfully perform that task. The third key variable that makes up self-efficacy is social persuasion. Social persuasion can increase your self-efficacy if mentors or management is giving you encouragement that you can perform a task. The fourth and final variable that makes up self-efficacy is psychological feedback. Feeling one gets once the task confronted or completed. For example, getting excited about a task while performing it can increase your self-efficacy. So just to clarify, the 4 key variables that make up self-efficacy is 1, experience, 2, vicarious experience, 3, social persuasion, and 4, psychological feedback. In this second clip, we see Cal Weaver walk into the bar confidently. He has built up on his self-efficiency on how to pick up women. In this example, we see how Cal Weaver managed to build his self-efficiency up in a couple of different ways. First, through vicarious experiences, by watching his friends successfully pick up women. Secondly, through social persuasion, having his friend give him tricks and tips and encouragement that he can do it. And lastly, by his own personal experience of picking up women and getting better the more that he tries. You can even see his confidence rise and his receiving positive psychological feedback in the rush and thrill he is receiving from successfully being able to pick up women at a bar.
Want when you insist.
And do I talk about myself?
Never talk about yourself, always about her.
Because bar banter
Is boring,
the
so
worst.
you put the impetus on her. She has to be the interesting one. Impress me with how interesting you are. It's a big game, creepy little game you
Oh,
play.
that's judgmental, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the night, what do? Do I ask them to come home with me?
No, you tell them to come home with you. They have no choice in the matter. It is your choice, and they are so overjoyed to have had the opportunity to make sweet love to you. Oh my God. You did. You Miyagi'd me.
Huh. Take your ring off. Let's go.
That is a great dress. Where'd you get that?
A store in Beverly Hills.
Really? Beautiful.
Shipped for my grandmother.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Krugerrand. It's
I
from
see
South
that.
Africa.
Love it.
It's not my concierge. It's detailed relationship because I very detail-oriented. Extremely. And I tell them never to assume anything.
And I've been to Maine, so that's a 16. So I've been 16.
Oh, I love her.
Yes, it's beautiful right here. You been to Waterville?
I have, yeah.
Greece, Italy.
Greece? Really? Why did I?
You're driving.
This theory is based on 3 factors. Expectancy, the level an employee is willing to exert in hopes that the increased effort will result in better performance. Instrumentality, the belief that if you as an employee perform well, a valued outcome will be received. Valence, the importance that the individual places upon the expected outcome. This theory concludes that the force of motivation in an employee can be calculated using a formula. The formula would be motivation equals valence times instrumentality times expectancy. So here we're going to start with situation 1. I think Arpita has the ability to take our next project. She is doing a good job. Arpita, you did very well in your last project. I will give you one more project tomorrow. If you perform well and finish the project within 7 days, you will be rewarded with a promotion. This is known as expectancy. Employee A thinks that if she works hard, her effort will lead to better performance. This is known as instrumentality. She thinks that if she works hard for the next project, her performance will lead to better outcomes. The more projects she gets, the more rewards she will receive. This is known as valence. She is highly motivated by the reward. The outcome is desirable. If she can achieve the reward, she will be satisfied. So if someone perceives that all of these are true, then this theory suggests that this employee is highly motivated. Here's situation 2. Mr. Farhan, you are doing good. I'll give you another project tomorrow. If you perform well and finish the project within 7 days, you will be rewarded with $3,000. Here is expectancy. Employee B begins to doubt his efforts, meaning that if his workload is high, will his ability to achieve this outcome be high as well? This is known as instrumentality. He thinks whether his performance will lead to any outcomes or rewards. This is known as valence. Employee B thinks if all the hard work will lead to an reward desirable or not. So understanding the situation that someone perceives that if any of these are true, the theory suggests that employee B is not motivated.
In this next video, we will be discussing the importance of the reward that motivates an individual because although expensive gifts are nice, they are not always successful. We will learn what motivation is at its core and the 3 elements that Dan finds key, which are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. These tools will help managers understand individuals on a deeper level and be able to help them come up with rewards or incentives that will be successful in leading them to be motivated.
Take a look at this. This is called the candle problem. Some of you might have seen this before. It was created in 1945 by a psychologist named Carl Duncker. Carl Duncker created this experiment that's used in a whole variety of experiments in behavioral science. And here's how it works. Suppose I'm the experimenter. I bring you into a room. I give you a candle, some thumbtacks, and some matches. And I say to you, your job is to attach the candle to the wall so the wax doesn't drip onto the table. Now, what would you do? Many people begin trying to thumbtack the candle to the wall. Doesn't work. Some people, and I saw somebody kind of make the motion over here, some people have a great idea where they light the match, melt the side of the candle, try to adhere it to the wall. It's an awesome idea, doesn't work. And eventually, after 5 or 10 minutes, most people figure out the solution, which you can see here. The key is to overcome what's called functional fixedness. You look at that box and you see it only as a receptacle for the tacks, but it can also have this other function as a platform for the candle. The candle problem. Now, I want to tell you about an experiment using the candle problem done by a scientist named Sam Glucksberg, who's now at Princeton University in the US. This shows the power of incentives. Here's what he did. He gathered his participants and he said, I'm going to time you how quickly you can solve this problem. To one group, he said, I'm going to time you to establish norms, averages, for how long it typically takes someone to solve this sort of problem. To the second group, he offered rewards. He said, if you're in the top 25% of the fastest times, you get $5. If you're the fastest of everyone we're testing here today, you get $20. Okay, now this is several years ago, adjusted for inflation. It's a decent sum of money for a few minutes of work. Okay, it's a nice motivator. Question, how much faster did this group solve the problem? Answer, it took them on average 3.5 minutes longer. 3.5 minutes longer. Now this makes no sense, right? I mean, I'm an American, I believe in free markets, that's not how it's supposed to work, right? If you want people to perform better, you reward them, right? Bonuses, commissions, their own reality show, incentivize them. That's how business works, but that's not happening here. You've got an incentive designed to sharpen thinking and accelerate creativity, and it does just the opposite. It dulls thinking and blocks creativity. And what's interesting about this experiment is that it's not an aberration. This has been replicated over and over and over again for nearly 40 years. These contingent motivators. If you do this, then you get that. Work in some circumstances, but for a lot of tasks, they actually either don't work or often they do harm.
In the TED Talk, The Puzzle Motivation by Dan Pink, he discusses what drives motivation and how the expectancy theory can affect certain morale in a job and how rewards reflect in certain situations. Dan discusses the candle program experiment. This experiment is where an experimentee is given a candle, thumbtacks in a box, and matches. The object of the experiment is to attach the candle to the wall without having the wax drip onto the table. During the experiment, the power of incentives is put to the test, where one group is incentivized with money if they can do it in a fast time, where the other group is not incentivized with anything. The group without an incentive got a faster time than the group competing for money. This shows that while many believe that a reward will guarantee a stronger performance, that is not always the case. During the TED Talk, at 4 minutes and 30 seconds in, Dan begins to discuss contingent motivators and how by saying, if you do this, you'll get that, is a good motivator to complete work. However, it does not always grant a successful solution. Not saying that a reward doesn't work at all, but sometimes it does not work how we would like.
Let me tell you why this is so important. In Western Europe, in many parts of Asia, in North America, in Australia, white-collar workers are doing less of this kind of work and more of this kind of work. That routine, rule-based, left-brain work, certain kinds of accounting, certain kinds of financial analysis, certain kinds of computer programming has become fairly easy to outsource, fairly easy to automate. Software can do it faster. Low-cost providers around the world can do it cheaper. So what really matters are the more right-brain, creative, conceptual kinds of abilities. Think about your own work. Think about your own work. Are the problems that you face, or even the problems we've been talking about here, are those kinds of problems, do they have a clear set of rules and a single solution? No. The rules are mystifying. The solution, if it exists at all, is surprising and non-obvious. Everybody in this room is dealing with their own version of the candle problem.
At 6 minutes and 30 seconds, Dan explains how a simple set of rules make a clear destination. As an example, in the TED Talk, the candle problem was later reworked, where the experiment was rearranged with the same materials but presented differently. Instead of the thumbtacks being inside of the box, they were placed outside, presenting a different setup to the group, allowing them to figure out the solution to attaching the candle to the wall because the solution was set up clearer for them to figure out. A useful example that Dan touches in the talk is when he talks about think about your own work. At 7 minutes and 30 seconds in, he has you consider the problems that you face in your life, and if there is a clear set of rules. If a solution is not obvious, then it leaves the possibility for everyone to have their own version of the essential candle problem, with various ways to get to that one solution.
To entice people with a sweeter carrot or threaten them with a sharper stick. We need a whole new approach. The good news about all this is that the scientists who've been studying motivation have given us this new approach. It's an approach built much more around intrinsic motivation, around the desire to do things because they matter, because we like it, because they're interesting, because they're part of something important. And to my mind, that new operating system for our businesses revolves around 3 elements: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy, the urge to direct our own lives. Mastery, the desire to get better and better at something that matters. And purpose, the yearning to do what we do in the service of something larger than ourselves.
It is important to remember that while reward is important in the expectancy theory, it is not always the only solution, and sometimes doing things just because they matter and are important to us is enough motivation. Just as Dan stated to be the 3 elements he found most important behind motivation was autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Autonomy being the director of our own lives, mastery to get better at something that is important to us, and purpose, the meaning behind why we do what we do and what makes it special beyond just ourselves. These elements reflect self-efficacy and the manner that you are capable of achieving a specific task or goal with or without an award at hand.
In this section, we will be providing an example of a company with a problem in motivating its employees. Frontier Airlines is a company that suffers from motivational problems. Frontier Airlines is considered a low-cost airline that is known for their low prices, but also their lack of effort. I have flown at Frontier about 2 times, and the first time I flew with the company, they left their luggage behind, so I had to wait an extra 2+ hours. The second time I flew with them, our flight was delayed and it ended up just being canceled. There was a lack of proper communication and the cancellations could have been handled better, but it wasn't. So unfortunately, both of my experiences with the company were not good. Frontier Airlines suffers from a lack of motivation within its employees. This is a problem for the airline because it could cause current customers to leave bad reviews and cause potential customers to use a different airline altogether, which will lead to low sales. Expectancy theory is needed because it helps build a structure that a successful organization could follow. Employees must be showing effort in their service, and in the example shown with Frontier, the effort is not there. The performance behavior problem is the lack of effort and lack of communications from both the staff and organization. Frontier airline employees show little empathy, especially when the flight was canceled and they did not do anything to make the situation better for their customers. The employees' level of the 3 specific beliefs related to the performance behaviors would be low expectancy, low instrumentality, and low valence. Frontier employees don't take pride or effort in their work because the expectation from them are already low. This may be an organizational issue or a public image issue. If Frontier airline employees were more motivated and they had a clear idea of how to properly use the expectancy theory, there would be a lot more customer satisfaction. To fix this, the company as a whole needs to get on board and want to change their image. They have to learn how to motivate their employees to perform a better job all around. Following the expectancy theory, they would have to provide an incentive that is both reasonable and achievable, and that they feel supported to reach this attainable goal. It also has to be something that would be desirable enough for most employees. An example would be offering a cash bonus for employees with positive comments from customers or some type of point system.
Thank you all for watching our presentation. We have included a short survey that we're asking each of you to participate in, and if you do participate, you will receive 2 points extra credit. So if you just click the link, it'll take you to the survey. And the first question asks, how clear is your understanding of expectancy theory after watching the presentation? Briefly explain the expectancy theory of motivation in your own words. How effective were the media clips in teaching you about the expectancy theory of motivation? What concept was being illustrated in the movie clip from Crazy Stupid Love? What is one thing you learned from Dan Pink's TED Talk? Which part of the presentation did you enjoy most? How many stars would you rate this presentation? And finally, we're just asking you to provide your first and last name to get those 2 extra credit points.